Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm Caroline Liem. I'm a casting director. I've been doing this for about 15 years, film, TV, commercials, theater, on and on and on. And I'm really happy to be here tonight to moderate this evening improv, commercials, and beyond. Go ahead.
Hi there, I'm Stephanie Courtney, and I play Flo, the perky sales clerk from the Progressive Insurance commercials.
Hey.
And I'm thrilled to be here and talk about this improv and commercials. I think it's great. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Michael Donovan. I'm a casting director, film, television, theater, and commercials as well. Been doing this for about 20 years, which is scary, and delighted to be here.
Hey, I'm Rob Cohen. I'm a writer, director. Been doing it for overall for about 20 years as well.
So, we've all heard about this thing called reality TV, right?
Ooh.
Right, boo and hiss, right? So, I don't know about you, but I think that with the advent of reality and more comedy episodic and more filmmakers working on commercials, that the tides really turn to improv. That more and more the expectation is real people, right? Coming in as actors and improvising to create the characters for what they're selling. So, and in also delivering that product. Generally, you can put two strong contenders together, and I will ask you what you think about this. And the one who has more of an improv background will generally sparkle more and probably get that role. So my first question to this panel is, let's first start with your experience in improv and how you came to your work. Because I come from a theater background with straight drama. So how did I come here to do comedy? All right. So we'll get to me later. But I'd like to start with you, Stephanie, on that.
Hello. I guess ever since I was 7, I was doing some sort of play locally, just a lot of live theater, and then I didn't major in college, but I did tons of plays. Then went to the neighborhood playhouse for 2 years, and then struggled and starved and catered and struggled and catered and starved, and then a friend of mine said, "Hey, I dare you to do stand-up with me tonight." And I did that. 6 months later, I have my now manager. She said, "Move out to LA if you want a manager." I left skid marks because I was just starving in New York, and I love New York, but I had to go to where the work is. And then I came here. I did some stand up. I saw a Groundlings performance. I signed up for classes the next day, and that's where my stand up sort of faded away as the improv and sketch came into play, because I just love playing with other people. I just love it. And having to show up to something completely unprepared is a joy.
Hello. I was an actor for a long time and a director, and so while I was an actor, improv was part of my training, and I think it's maybe next to theater is the single best tool in terms of training an actor. That ability to work without a net, I think, is very exciting for me as a director when I direct, and for me as a casting director when I cast. And I got into this whole thing very circuitously as well in terms of how I ended up as a casting director. But I really love actors who have experience in improv. It's enormously helpful to me and everything I do.
I grew up admiring and worshiping shows like SCTV and SNL and things like that, just for what amazing performers they were. And then getting into being a sitcom writer, I also became friends with a lot of amazing improvisers, mainly Groundlings, and would every now and then terrify myself by performing at the cooking with gas shows, but appreciating the skills when people would come in, we would cast for episodes, and seeing how great that was. And then when I transitioned into directing, realizing that was such a bonus skill, that you had people who were great actors, but it just sort of confirmed what I loved as a kid, that if you have somebody who's a killer that can give you multiple great things, that only enhanced my love of improv. So
There's a great line in the book, The Artist's Way. Leap and the net shall appear. Have you ever read that? I think it's awesome, and I think that's what an improviser does so beautifully. It's like, I don't know, here we go. And it's just very exciting to watch that happen. So.
What I appreciate is that when you're working with people who improvise a lot, they say yes to everything. So you throw anything at them, and they'll say, sure, I'll try it. Why not? And that's really important for me when I'm casting. So when does, now we're going back to commercials and script. When do you improvise, and when do you stick to the script? Who wants to take that one?
Well, the writer half of me will say that the greatest thing and the worst thing is somebody that wants to come in and improvise, because as a writer, you're like, I wrote something that's hilarious. And then when they come in and they go off book, you go crazy because you're not hearing the words that you think are so hilarious. But when you see somebody who has the ability to go off and enhance it, that I think I always view it as improv is your second bullet. And the first thing you want to do is go, here's what you wrote, here's my interpretation, here's how I'm presenting it. But then it's like, if you want to see me go a little kooky, make a little left turn, it's a bonus. It's like frosting on the cake. And so, speaking for the nerdy writers out there, if you can offer that as a bonus thing, I think it's an amazing thing if you can genuinely do it well.
I know that on our set, we have, I'm lucky at this point, the writers all will speak in my voice in the writer's room, they tell me. And they have this one writer, Caroline, who could do an impression, and will be like, come on, get in here. Tells she's sort of like the Peggy from Mad Men of the group, and she'll do my voice, and they'll be like, okay, that works. So they're sort of writing for the character, which is great. So we'll just shoot what they wrote, and any sort of tag that they wrote. And then if there's time and if there's inclination, okay, Steph, these are yours, or the writers come up with stuff, the director comes up with stuff, and the other actor gets a turn. And so yeah, I absolutely agree. There's definitely a plan and deference to the script and what, of course, the client and the producers wanted, and then we get to play once everyone's relaxed and everything's in the can and everything's that they wanted has been done to their, pleasure.
Well, I think we're talking about two different things here. We're talking about the audition versus when you have the job. And I think those are very different things in terms of what you guys need to approach, right? So I think in terms of what you're talking about, which I love what you said, by the way, I think you need to honor the writing, especially because one of the people making the decision is the writer, exactly. And, a lot of times I find actors think what they wrote is so much funnier than what the writer wrote. And you know what? No, it's not, okay? Because what the writer wrote was pretty funny. A quick example, if I may.
Sometimes it's terrible.
Sometimes it's terrible, right. We used to do all of the AT&T spots that Paul Reiser was in. Do you remember those spots that were? Okay, and Paul Reiser's comedy is bada bing, bada boom. That's his comedy, bada bing, bada boom. Okay, so if you start changing the script, all of a sudden it's, and you totally lose it. And also, since Paul was going to be acting in those spots, probably not a good idea if you're changing the script, okay? So, but it's different now once you get on the set with Paul Reiser, and maybe he discovers that you are brilliant at this, then you play away, Right. But I think the way you get the job is to at least honor the material as written. Then if you're lucky enough to be asked for a second take, or you get a call back and the director really wants to play with you, you said, an improviser says, yes, absolutely, let's play. And then you play. And then you see how brilliant somebody who has improv training is, just will go freely and do whatever the director wants. We did a spot years ago where two people had very distinct accents. And during the callback, the director said, okay, switch accents. It was ridiculous, but it was so funny. And the actors went, sure, and tried it. But I think that stuff is very exciting. But I think you have to honor the words first. So.
Okay, then how do you honor the words and make really amazing choices?
Okay, I think I want to change my answer. No, like what I would do, once I was auditioning for commercials for a very long time, and I started feeling more comfortable with the casting directors and all that stuff. What I would do is I would make sure I said everything in the script, just everything that was written, and then if there was a moment of air and they haven't said cut or thank you, and if there was a beat to fill after I'd already delivered on all the lines, I would do that if it felt right. Agreed.
Absolutely. If they haven't said cut or thank you, then there's your chance to whatever. But I find a lot of times actors are so in love with that little moment they're going to do. They can't wait to get to that moment. It's like you forgot to finish. Wait, finish, you know, then play, you know. But take
Give
that
them
beat.
what they want. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also I agree with that, and we're all violently agreeing. But the other thing is just with sitcoms, because you're seeing the final product, a lot of those takes are second take, third take, fourth take, and usually it's a bunch of writers that hustle around the monitor and go, okay, that laugh didn't work, let's pitch. So they're improvising new stuff anyways, and the actors are certainly saying the new stuff. But some people, the guy that pops in my head immediately is Jim Parsons from Big Bang Theory, who's a genius, will add his own flair to it, and he is doing a form of improvising, but it's within sort of the rails of what the scene is. So he's not just doing crazy voices, but he's adding those little nuances, and I think those are what really let improvisers stand out, because you just go, God, like, yeah, this guy's quick, but he's doing it within the guidelines of what he's supposed to be doing, and that's where you really appreciate strong improvisers.
Is there some sort of skill or some sort of parameters that, because with improv, to me, when I think of improv, it's big, it's bold, you know, it's fierce, it's fearless. Is there ever a moment where it's too much in the audition?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. There are sometimes people make choices to be noticed. It's the worst choice you can possibly make. Oh, yeah, we noticed you. Oh, yeah, we noticed you, you know. So I think, but then I always talk about ultimately what we want is truth, right? Well, truth is different for everybody. You know, what your truth may be is pretty big and over the top. What you're doing is pretty over the top, but it's totally truthful for you, and that's what I admire about what you're doing out there. Because I think a lot of people couldn't pull off what she's doing, you know, because it's pretty broad, right? But it's totally believable and totally fun. And obviously it's working, you know? So you have to find what works for you, and I think that's a very individual thing. Does that make sense?
Does that go into, am I off a tangent here by going, it has to do with brand, and has to do with type, and knowing who you are when you come to the room? Is there any of that plays into it?
Well, this is just my opinion, but the boring standard answer about improv is yes and. So if somebody says, I like your hat, the bad improviser would be like, I'm not wearing a hat. But the good improviser would be like, thanks, I got it online. And so what you're doing is you're yes-anding something existing, so you're actually adding to it. And I think that good improvisers, whether it's with the script or something else, will say, you know, like, real improv is live theater. So if you're trying to put that on screen, it's going to lose that cool club feel that you get at the Groundlings or I.O. or other places. But if you can show somebody that I'm doing this and can offer that, I think that's really what impresses people, certainly on my end.
Great. And then might as well, since you just mentioned it, where are some of the best places to get your training for improv? Or is it something where you just do it?
The only place that I went to train was the Groundlings, and I loved it, just loved it. And I believe the only places in town at that time were the Groundlings or Acme. And now there's Second City, and there's I.O., and there's
Comedy Sports, and
yep,
there's
and
a bunch, yeah.
UCB,
LA Connection, UCB.
There's plenty
What
of
else are we
places.
missing?
Go. Empty Stage?
Bang, that's right. Bang is long form. Boy, is that scary improv. That's the scariest improv. Hollywood Boulevard?
I.O.?
Oh.
But I'd say go see shows at these places, and the show that resonates with you, maybe that's your indication of which place to take classes.
It's also not to be an ad for any of these places, but I will say that the advantage of being in the audience at an improv show, and I still love doing it, is when somebody is handed a tough assignment, part of the fun is like, there's no way they're going to get out of this. And when they do, you are along with them. You're like, that was awesome. But when you see it, you're like, that was awesome. And when you break it down, you go, oh, I see what that person did. They took whatever X was and ran with it. And I think any of these places do great jobs. And some people are better than others. But when you see really good improv, it is fantastic, because you're seeing somebody that's just diving in, like sort of what you were saying before about the net. And it's just ballsy.
I also think we love it when somebody lays a big egg. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, now what are you gonna do?
It
You know,
reminds it, yeah.
right? And,
You're on a little tightrope.
right. And do you, when you're in the audience, do you start sweating for them? Because I do that. It's like, oh my god, oh my god. You know, as a former performer, I'm like, oh no, and, but it's fun. So.
How many people do you see for a given ad? Like how many?
Really?
Yeah, really.
Okay, it depends on the budget. Totally, that's the truth. So, wow. I don't
Something
think I've ever
recent,
done
just something
average. Well, like you do 2 days of casting, you're going to see somewhere upwards around 70-something people a day, I guess. So 150 a day. Yeah, I mean 150 total, maybe something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then of that, you know, there's obviously more than a handful of really great people. But what is it for you know who's hired you?
For me.
Yeah, for you.
I mean, when I'm watching actors, what
When-
impresses me the most?
What is it that impresses you when they come into the room
Specifics.
and yeah, let's get there.
Specifics and commitment. Absolutely. Film, television, theater, commercials, I don't care what it is. Specifics and commitment. The actor who makes a specific choice and is willing to commit to it is very exciting. Because most times what we do, and I know I did it, okay, you walk into the room and you go, oh, if I really do that, they're going to think I'm a terrible actor, you know, and so you give it away. No, you have to go for it. You have to go, this is how I see it. And that's, I think, what makes people recognize something unique in you. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. We're not looking to hire 1 million people. We're looking to hire one. Show me why it has to be you. And that means you have to be specific and you have to commit, which means that you're really out there a lot of times. You know, you're really taking a huge risk. And when you fall, it's a pretty hard fall. And it means you're doing hard falls a lot. Okay? But that's the process. That's what we do.
Yeah, one thing I learned, you know, with my training was casual just doesn't work with improv. And I mean like live stage improv. It just doesn't, you know, casual, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't, what you need is stakes and you need a take on something. Like that's sort of what works. You come in with your take on something. And with commercials, you know, by the time I booked my, you know, progressive gig, I had been going out so many times. It was kind of it kind of made it relaxing. It's sort of like, I'm going to get frozen yogurt because I'm in Santa Monica. You know, and that's what it was about. I was just like, okay, and then it kind of relaxed me to be like, yeah, I'll take a chance. What are you going to lose? I didn't book it not taking a chance, you know? So here I go.
And that's part of your job anyways, right? Is that audition. So
It's the process.
Yeah.
If you don't enjoy the process, find something else to do. Okay. And the other thing too is like most times you don't book it, right? So you might as well go for it. You know what I mean? What's the worst going to happen? You're not going to book it?
All right, so let's go to our first question here. What commercial agent, Michael, would you recommend? And who do you enjoy working with and why? Actually, my name's on there too, but I'll let you go first.
I'm not going to single out any agents. That's an unfair question because it's like that's a very individual thing. It's also a very individual thing for you as an actor. You know, you could be the star at a tiny agency and it works for you, right? You could be at a huge agency and you're being lost in the shuffle. So it's a very individual thing having an agent. It's a relationship. It's a marriage, you know, and half the marriages in the country don't work. Guess what? You know, it's the same thing. So you have to kind of, that's a very individual thing.
Yeah, I agree with that. It is a relationship that hones itself over time, like any other relationship you would have with a casting director, with a writer, with a director, with a producer, with your fellow actors on set. It's the same thing.
Yep.
So it's something that you procure over time, and you do your research, and you talk to people about them.
Yep.
So.
Absolutely. Ask your fellow actors,
Yeah.
you know, who do you like, right? And ask a friend, if you don't have an agent or you're looking to be with that actor's agent, you know, ask them if they'll walk your picture in. That's something you can do, or talk about you. But don't choose somebody who looks like you. You know what I mean?
Bad idea. Yeah, also don't do videos with people who look like you.
Right. It's true.
No, it happens
It's
a lot.
true.
A
Don't
lot.
offer them the competition. Hello.
Yeah. All right, here's another question. I'm just going to read this. Let's see. If I improv a line better than the script the director wants. 1, how do I have legal permission from script writers to add it? That's one. Two, how do I get paid for adding to the script words and sounds, for instance, a scream or a laugh and not an original script? And third, what agent is good at negotiating, keeping wardrobe, and getting max money for added improv and would act as my representation? What? Do you want to take part of that?
I'm just going to say this because they have the much more intelligent and thought through answers. But I'll say this just from being an improviser, comedic improviser, and auditioning for many, many years. Don't hold on to that so tightly. Just be at the audition and give it a go and have fun. It's true. Auditioning,
Yes.
I would tell my relatives, and they're like, so what are you doing? And I'm just like, actually, my job is auditioning. And he was right. You have to love it. So show up and be, show them that you're game and you're part of the process. You can't, from that sort of viewpoint, you can't be free and joyful. And improv is
Thank you.
free and joyful. And I would just, every once in a while in my mind be like, hey, wait a minute, that was a funny one. But then it's like, just don't worry. Just do a great job at the audition and love what you're doing. That's what I said.
I love what you just said.
Yes.
Thank you. That's great. Let's clap it there. You're also talking about nickel and diming here. I mean, I used to get into that whole thing with, like, if you were slightly into overtime and then actors would sign out 2 minutes into overtime. It's like, really? Really? Okay. That kind of stuff is like, it's missing the spirit of what we're trying to do here. Everybody's trying to do a job. I know there are a few offices that make you wait a long time because they don't know how to schedule. I understand that. You can turn down those auditions if you want, but it is enjoying the process. And what was the beginning part of that question?
Hold on.
Because there was something I was going to respond to.
Let's see. How do I have legal permission from the scriptwriter to add
Oh,
it?
well, should we get into that whole thing we were talking about?
Yeah, I mean, I will also say improv comes from many different directions. Like, just as a writer, when you go in to pitch on a feature, you're going in and going, here's how I would make the next vacation movie hilarious. But you know it's going to be the Griswolds. You know it's going to be, they're going on a wacky road trip. You know everything else. So you're basically having to improvise and pitch stuff in the meeting. So you're going into with a mindset where it's, I am offering some thoughts, and you don't want anybody to rip you off. But when an actor comes in, it's the same process where they're saying, here's the material, and now here are my specific thoughts on it. You're not going, this is the specific way I'll do it, and if you don't like it, tough beans, and that'll be $5. I think that I think that you're going in with an understanding that you are offering your specific skills and a taste of what you would offer. And what Stephanie said was really smart, because there's a vibe about it that good improv, when people are really clicking on stage, there's a vibe. But when people come in an audition, they're being cool, and everybody knows you're there for the part, and should you get the part, you will then continue to hone it. But I think if people hold on to their magic, it's going to be very restrictive for their performance, but also the person auditioning you is going to be like, this person is really uptight, and I probably am leaning away from giving them the job. So it's a bit of a gimme on that.
Well, it's also a career thing, too. You leave a bad taste, there. And it's like, so to get your extra however many dollars she's talking about, you kind of pissed off everybody. You know what I mean? Great, you got your money. Woohoo,
They're not out to rip you off. Like, the point isn't to rip off the actor. It's like, haha, we're going to get them to improv. It's like everyone's just trying to get this commercial done.
Just adding to that, I won't say the people's names, but I can think of two very specific instances where people came in for a terrible audition on a show that I was working on, and the script was terrible, but they were so hilarious the way that they processed the crap, and it actually got them a different job, because when they left, we were all like, that guy was awesome, and brought the person back for something else. And the other time, we wrote a part for this other person because they showed us how cool and hilarious they were with garbage. So I think you're almost selling yourself across the board as opposed to for the specific job. So it's being cool, really.
Always. It's never about that one thing that you're going in for, right? I bring back people I've known over the years. So do other people, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
And the other thing you have to keep in mind is that how long you're going to be on set with these people. It's a lot of hours. So we're trying to create a vibe that's going to, be a nice family for that day, week, month, whatever that is.
Now, we're not saying they shouldn't follow the rules. Don't let anybody screw you over. I mean, that's totally uncool. But there are some times when it's like, really, you're being that picky about something that gets a little silly. So Should we talk about the improv rules since it sort of came up?
Yeah, let's go there. Let's go there. So SAG has a rule that you're not allowed to. I guess casting is not allowed.
You're not allowed to. We're not allowed to ask you to improvise dialogue. You guys
Right.
know this, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So there's the reason why is very simple. You come up with a brilliantly funny line, right? They love that line. They don't love you. They love you. Okay. So then 3 months later, you're at home watching this commercial, the Chevrolet commercial, and there she is saying your line, and it's like, right? Okay. So that's kind of where it came from. Because basically, brilliant improvisers were writing the scripts. So that's where SAG said no. So the problem with it is that directors love brilliant improvisers, okay? So I think there are some key things to listen for. We can't ask you to improvise, but if you hear a casting director say, if you would like, you may play with the script. If you want to put in your own words, feel free. Things like that. Those are kind of the hints letting you know. But then it's up to you. We're not asking. Okay, so now you know that's the risk that you take. What she kind of referred to is, can she get paid for writing? In my career, I think twice, we worked it out with SAG ahead of time that the dialogue was going to be improvised in the audition, and whatever actor's dialogue was used, they would be paid as a writer, believe it or not. Yep, but that's such a rare thing. This happened to you? Okay, so it is a possibility. It's very complicated. It has to be worked out all ahead of time, but so it's kind of up to you guys whether you want to improvise or not. But here's the truth, that brilliantly funny line you came up with, so did she, and so did she, and so it's really wasn't just you. So.
But I think that ties back to the first thing you're saying is, if 6 people in this room riffed hilarious lines, people would go, that was really entertaining, but the odds are you would get hired for your individual package. And I think that that's part of the package. But again, it's like, wow, that guy was so funny. We will use him to play the crazy florist. And I think that's really what it's. Again, it's one of the many things on your checklist of skills. It's another arrow in your quiver, as opposed to saying, I'm only doing this and I'm only going to give you a taste. I think you want to go the other way, where it's like, here's another thing that I can do. And everybody does it. It's not, that doesn't mean it's right, but I think it actually will help you get hired, because if it's not this job, it'll be the next job, and they'll remember you were funny and cool.
I like arrow in your quiver. That was good.
Yeah,
Patent pending.
I like that a lot.
All right. Oh, we just talked about that. Excuse me. Okay, as an ethnic actor, many times I find the depiction of us a little off. How offended would the writer be if I honor my culture before I honor the writer?
Well, as a fellow ethnic, because I'm Canadian,
Well done.
I think it's, you should do whatever makes you comfortable, whatever that. Being serious, I think you should be proud of who you are, and the odds are you're probably there partially because of who you are. So if they're looking for the hilarious Japanese cab driver, I won't be going in on that, but they will probably be bringing in a lot of Asian people, and I think that you should be proud of who you are, and I wouldn't think that's an obstacle. I think it's a plus in certain instances. So again, if you're the hilarious, great improvising Asian cab driver, then your odds have increased, because you're there for a specific reason. You brought in the room because of that. So I would view that again as a bonus.
I think there's a very simple answer. Just say no. Just say thank you and pass on the audition. If it's something that offends you, that's okay. And maybe then address it from a different standpoint. But I think, again, this is how it was written. And unfortunately, there's a lot of stereotypes if you go back to all kinds of films and television over the years, and that were funny at one time that aren't so funny anymore, because we're hopefully evolving. But I think if it's something that just offends you, just simply pass on the audition.
And I've been on sets where an actor will just call over the director because already we've been together for 3 hours. The director kind of trusts them a little bit and just calls them over and says, you know what? I just don't feel right saying this line. Do you? And then the writers were brought over, and it was sort of respected, and they tried to work on it, and they listened, you know. So you could always talk to the director.
Yeah, and a lot of times, writers are very short-sighted and directors are very short-sighted because the writers just want to get the lines on the page, get the network off their ass, and get it said properly. And the directors want to get it on camera. And if somebody, I agree with Stephanie, if they come over and go, I'm uncomfortable saying X, Y, and Z, they're probably going to change it. And usually it'll make it better because you're going to get a better performance.
All right, casting question. What's the worst thing, I can't read this, seen in an audition? I know, it goes on, doesn't it? You can write anthologies about it.
Wow, that's a toughie. The worst thing I've seen in an audition.
I'll start.
Go ahead.
Okay.
There's so many.
I know. I'll
Yeah.
start riffing, and I'm sure you'll jump in.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if it's the worst, but it's when an actor will take what's in the script across the table and invade the space of the casting director. That happens more often than you would think.
Yes, literally.
Like literally bring in a gun and pull it out on you.
Yep.
Like reach across and slap you.
Yep.
Like reach out and pull, not me, the reader, and pull the shirt.
I am the reader, so all of that has happened to
Yeah.
me. I read with my actors, so it's like I got hurt at an audition once. I got literally hurt.
Yeah.
I finally had to stop. I had to throw the actor out. It was like, it's out of control. It's like, it's just completely inappropriate, you know?
Yeah.
And we forget that it's playing dolls. It's cowboys and Indians. You know what I mean? It's like, it's play acting, okay? We're
Know
not.
your space.
Right, really, exactly. Knowing your space.
Know
is
your space.
Yeah.
Know your room.
It's really true.
Yeah.
And you scare the clients, too, you know?
It's true.
You really do. You see the client kind of backing off. The other day, seriously, we were at a table, and finally the director said, "I'm sorry, you have to stop. You have to back up," because this actor was like in our face. It was just really, and somehow you think that's more effective. No.
No.
There's a reason why people have chosen to be a director and a writer instead of an actor, because we usually have horrible personal space alerts, and so you don't want to be on camera, but when somebody's like vibing it, I think that sets off those alarms that you're talking about, and all you're thinking is, for at least me, it's just panic, like, how can I politely back away so that I can slow my breathing? And I agree, I think that's really weird, but the worst one I've ever seen, condensing a very long story, was we were casting a girl who came in to be the tooth fairy, and all she had to do was wave her wand, and she got it, but had prepared the backstory for the tooth fairy, and we were subjected to the most insane General Kurtz Apocalypse Now-esque preparation that was amazing in detail and terrifying in context. That everybody in that room, if you had a police lineup, they would tell you the same horrible story, but they couldn't tell you what the girl looked like because it was just insanity. I wish I knew her name, but it was phenomenal in every way the word phenomenal exists.
I have a favorite.
Let's
Favorite
talk
improv.
about the good stuff.
This was kind of fun. It was just there were lines. It was a girl on the phone, and there were lines to say. All they asked you was to improvise something physically while you're saying these lines on the phone. She took off her bra. No, not her shirt. I mean, she left the shirt on, but took off her bra. It was ridiculous. It was so funny. I mean, to watch this girl squirming in and out of her bra while she was taking off I don't know. So I thought that was brilliant. Yeah. I think she did, actually, yeah. But, you know, people were picking their nose and all kinds of stuff, but it was like...
But you kept her in the room a little longer than you needed to, right?
Commitment.
Commitment. Yeah.
All right, so we talked a little bit about, I'm just going to ask this question because I'm wondering if there's anything else we want to add to it. What tips or things could we do, the actors do, to stand out in a commercial audition? Is there anything in addition that we haven't addressed yet?
Yeah, there's a few things that I think. I teach this a lot about. I think color is very important. I don't think people pay enough attention to color and pattern and what they're wearing on camera. You have to understand it's extremely visual medium, and with all due respect, with people with a lot of people with limited vision, okay? And basically, if it isn't in front of them, they just can't see it. You know, you can't expect, dressed like I am, to get a job as a lawyer. It's not going to happen, okay? It's not going to happen. They can't see it. And you wore a color that was terrible for your skin, you know, for your hair, your eyes, or you were in for a Puma commercial with Nike spread across your chest, you know, or a pattern that danced, you know, or stripes, right? Or like this, with all due, it's pretty tough. That would be terrible for an audition. Do you understand? You know, it's like you have to kind of know what lights up your face. Everybody's skin, hair, eyes are different, right? So you have to get to know that. And then also watch trends, right? Watch trends, particularly for the women. The color changes about what's in right now in commercials. You should know that. I think you should also pay attention to the style of the campaign. If you're going in for progressive, well, that's a different style, right, than Jack in the Box, which is a different style than Mountain Dew, and so on like that. You should be informed. You should know, and you should have a sense of that going in, and you can look all that stuff up online as a rule. So.
And then the second part of this question is, how was, Stephanie, your audition for Progressive? How was that process?
Okay, yeah. It was a perky sales clerk, and when I hear sales clerk, I put on my polo shirt, my navy blue polo shirt, because blues work well on camera.
Yes, they do.
And you know, and I had my hair in a ponytail, and I showed up, and then there's just a little script. It turned out to be the first commercial that we shot. And I could tell that the final beat, they would want some choices. And they kept saying, you know, friendlier, perkier, friendlier, perkier. And I just knew you could spin out into crazy. You totally could. So how are you going to ground it? And, you know, I just thought, and I hope she's not watching it. But my mom is wonderfully warm and crazy, you know, or she's just hoping the best for everyone, you know. And so I remember the customer left, and I had a beat to fill, and I was just like, oh God, I'm gonna miss them, you know. And I just sort of, you know, had a take on things. Like, she just loved the interaction, because I could tell that that's where they were going. And so, and I had this instinct, but I found out later, you know, it's like improvising with some product. Go ahead and improvise, but the product is always awesome. The product works. It made your life better. It was easy. All that stuff, like making fun of it. It's like, and these are things I've learned, like shooting the commercials too, where they're like, don't reference death. Thank you. You know, can't say herpes. Thank you. So like everything, you know, everything works. It's great. It's awesome. If anyone takes the fall, it's you. You know what I mean? Flo's not perfect. She, you know, she thinks she is, but she, you know, makes mistakes. And so yeah, I don't know if that answered the question, but yeah.
Right. Can we talk just very quickly, backtrack to types of improv, short form, long form? Can we talk about that a little bit, just the properties of?
I do a long form show. We start off with 3 separate scenes based on audience suggestions. The scenes are different characters, different relationships, and then we clap in. We clap in and we go forward and backwards in time based on the characters and situations. And that goes on for about 45 minutes. Short form, I'm just talking about what happens at the Groundlings. We have a director, and the director will say, 2 people, come on up. Okay, what time is it? 3 p.m.? 3 p.m. Let's see what they got, you know. And then that director will call blackout when she feels the scene is finished. So that's sort of succinct difference.
All right, and how about, okay, now we're changing. We're going to jump all over the place. Okay, what do you think about actors sending postcards, you know, Starbucks, gift certificates, champagne?
I think postcards are great. I think I have a bulletin board that I keep, and when you invite me to things that you're in, and I think even if we don't get to the things that you're in, you're at least telling us you're serious about your career, so I think postcards are a great idea. There are some offices that don't even look at them. Okay, next, you know, so they'll throw them out. So what? Some will. Also, what's interesting, you're getting less mail than you used to? Are you finding it? Yeah.
It's all
so
online.
Now we read it.
I know, yeah, we do read it now
We
because
read it
less of
now.
it's coming in.
It used to be so much it was overwhelming, but now it's
Yeah.
less. So, you know.
Yeah.
And in terms of gifts and stuff like that, I think if you are going to give a gift to a casting director, the thing to avoid is personal. It's the unfortunate reality is that things that come in that were baked were like, sure, you know. And you never know. Like, I'm allergic to chocolate and nuts. I get so much chocolate. I get so much nuts. It's unbelievable, you know. But you don't know. I mean, that's fine, you know. But, so I think the Starbucks things like that, I think those are actually a good idea.
Cool. And I think, you know, what I've noticed is the people who are cast in the smaller roles tend to give the largest gifts.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't.
It makes us so uncomfortable.
We
right?
are so excited that you were cast.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you've got to send something, send a card. Just
love
say
that you
thank
said that,
you.
'cause
It's true.
We're excited.
So excited.
Yeah.
Because we've been waiting. We've been waiting to be the one to say that we cast you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
I
true.
think that's such a good point. It's like, it's not this big brick wall waiting to screw up your career. It's like the people that you wind up working with, you see that you're all actually working towards something. If you can help them reach whatever goal they have, commercials, TV, whatever, and that's what everyone wants. You know, they want it to work.
I think that's a great point, that there's so many levels to getting cast and getting the product shot that the casting directors have to look for all of these actors, but then they have to go to the producers and go, we really believe in these guys, and it's always sort of upselling, not in a bad way, but in a I back this person way. So when there's a win, it's a team win, and I personally think sending gifts or anything kind of muddies the waters, but it also feels a little sweaty. Let your skills sort of speak for your skills.
Yeah, I think a card is sometimes plenty. But I think you should acknowledge something. Again, it's a business, right? So it's like a little something saying, cool, we did this thing together is, I think, not a bad idea.
And if you do send the card, make sure your picture's in there.
Yes. Oh, my God.
Because we forget.
Oh,
And
not
we
just
see
that.
a
Oh,
lot
you
of people,
can't read
right?
the
And I
signature.
can't read the signature. It's just like
Ugh.
a line. Yeah. Yeah. I keep those things.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next to my postcards.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to talk about group auditions and hogging it. So in a group audition, you got a partner, maybe more than one, and there's always somebody who hogs it, right? So what's your best suggestion for making sure that we still get a word in edgewise?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. There's this awesome, I'm going to hate myself in the morning, but it's almost like a jazz riff thing where you have to have an ear for music with improv. There's silences and noise and people are talking and it's a multiple person scene. And listening, number one, will help you a millionfold. And find where you're needed. Like if there's three people playing like the angry office worker or something like that, maybe you're the screw up or maybe you're, you know, flirty or whatever. See where, like, what note hasn't been played, what color hasn't been shown, and just listen and observe. You know, you don't have to be the first one talking, you know, have a little, it makes you look a little competent, you know.
I agree. I think that sometimes we're more intrigued by the person who is not pulling focus, you know, and one of the things that happens at a callback, I'm sure you've done this too, is that the director will sort of guide the cam op to ignore the person who's stealing all the focus and zero in on the people who are not, because we've already eliminated that person. Do you understand? So, you know, you could choose to be the wallflower. You could be any number of things. You could be the person who's irritated by the person who's stealing. I mean, that could be a choice that you could make. You know, so I think, again, it comes back to being specific and individual and finding what you're going to do in this particular space. And you can stand out by doing that.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think Taxi, to me, is sort of the well-worn example that I always use because everybody remembers Danny DeVito from Taxi. But he was not the star of Taxi.
Nope.
Judd Hirsch was the star of Taxi.
Yep.
And it's not that Judd Hirsch was the most boring guy. He had the pipe, and his job was to set scenes up. But Danny DeVito was like a designated hitter where he knew when he could get in, nail it, and get out. And even his facial expression was fantastic. So in auditions, it's the same thing because if you have multiple people, everybody's looking around, and the writer wants to make sure the words are said, and this guy's worried about how will he sell it to the network or whatever it is. But I think if the music analogy is another great one, because if somebody's just noise, you're going to tune them out. But if they can really be a great little addition, you know, like that guitar solo or whatever it is, I think that helps. So it's just finding your spot to remind them how good you are instead of scream how good you are.
And maybe you're just supposed supposed to be the straight man. I read an interview when they were, Andy Griffith, who just died recently, they posted an earlier interview in which he talked about when he got the show, he was supposed to be the comedy guy on the Andy Griffith show. You know that, right? But then he was smart enough to realize when Don Knotts came along, okay, that, if I let him be the whack job, you know, I can be the straighter one, and it works beautifully. So I think that's, again, supporting everything we're saying here. Find where you fit in this particular group. You know?
And they improvised, I do believe.
Yeah, I think
they
you're right.
improvised that last beat, and even though his character was more subdued, it was still, you know, coming from a warmer place. It was still valid and wonderful.
Absolutely.
I also think that you're casting parts on a show, like literally parts of a show. So they will rarely go, you know what, that 2/3 audition, let's cast everybody. I think that it's more like this guy was great here and this day was good. And so it's really little pieces. So even if somebody's hogging it, as long as you're doing the best job you possibly can, but also when you leave, you feel like you conveyed things in a good way instead of a desperate way, it'll go a long way.
You know, the other thing about a group audition that happens, particularly when there's lines, I find people are very alive when it's their line and then kind of kick back, you know? And so what you may not be aware is the camera has moved, okay? And we catch you at the moment when you go, you know? And so you have to assume you're part of it 100% of the time. So,
not to belabor this, but I'd say one of the best tools, a friend of mine who's an actor, again, just sort of being on the other side of the camera, he said the greatest thing for improv auditions was you can go online and find these, but they have, when they shoot sitcoms, the monitor is a thing called a quad split, where they will take the 4 cameras and put them on one monitor. But if you go online and see from any show, you can look it up, type in any show, and find the feed or the quad split, while one guy's talking in the upper right corner, like the Brady Bunch, the other people aren't just there reading a magazine. They're still doing their due, and I think that that's what a great audition is with a group, because they know they're on camera, but they're just not saying anything at that moment. And it was a great tool for them because they could see that its reactions are getting laughs, and they know this thing will be edited, and they're going to have to cut to people, and you want to say, I'm competent. If you're giving me a line or if you're cutting to me, I would be a great part of this 4-piece pie. So that's a good thing to look at if you can look at it online.
and it goes back to what you were saying before, which I loved about listening. It's so about listening. So maybe there's a moment where you're just listening and reacting, right? And maybe that's something that we can really use, you know? So.
Well, and it's also what's in between the lines, because we are looking at that, you know, with the scene work, and we always know the steamroller, right? And that's so not interesting. All right, so we're going to talk about authors. Jump into authors now. Have you read Kenneth Johnstone? And what effect has his theories and games had on American improv? Is anyone familiar?
I am so sorry, I have not.
I have not.
I'm illiterate. Never heard of it.
Quick, Wikipedia?
Yeah. Does anyone have an
Does
iPhone?
anyone have a... Sorry, Mark. Okay. Next author. All right, Ben Houck. Anyone familiar with Ben Houck?
No.
I'm really sorry, Michelle. Okay, we'll move on.
But can I just say one thing? I think
Yes.
that everything is information. I think read everything you can get your hands on, and then sift through it. You know, what can you use? What can't you use? What do you think is absolute bowl, and what do you think is, you know, no, that works for me. I think that's important.
If I can just add on that, I don't know those particular works, but again, the internet is such a great tool. There are great free podcasts that are interviews with directors. There's acting podcasts, I'm sure, but there's great interviews with great directors that are free, that hearing their perspective, I think actually will let you learn what's going on in their head, which will give you a better audition.
That's a great, and I think performing live as much as you can. I can't tell you how much it meant to do plays, musicals, plays, stand-up, improv. You know, like this was sort of like the the path my career took or whatever. But it was always in front of a live audience, and it just helped me so much to, I don't know how it helped me. It just did. It just.
I talk about this a lot. At the NAACP Awards a few years ago, Lawrence Fishburne was winning the award for, I don't know, Actor of the Year or whatever. And in Los Angeles, Lawrence Fishburne said, in his opinion, any actor who has not been on stage is not an actor. Ouch. And I thought, that's pretty ballsy thing to say in Los Angeles, you know? But I have to tell you, I mean, of course, I come from the theater. I love the theater. I cast a lot of theater. But it's such an amazing teacher. And to perform live, like she's saying, there's nothing like it. You know, there's no safety net. You know, there's no cut back to one. You know,
yeah,
so
no one's doing you any favors.
Right.
You know, it's really, and you can't blame a whole audience.
Yep.
You can't be like, all of you got together
yeah.
and talk to someone who doesn't like. You know, it's like it's the truth. What's coming back at you? You know.
Has anyone ever asked you, or has anyone experienced something dangerous in the audition room? An actor being asked to do something and that kind of thing.
It's gross.
Really?
Okay,
Just
there
gross
was
stuff.
it was a car commercial where you're supposed to like. The car is so amazing, it draws you like a magnet, and you're going to smack against the window, and your face is going to go down. So they had a piece of saran wrap between two bars. And I was just like, oh, okay, so I slapped my face against that and go, like, literally as I brought my face towards it, my eye caught, like, RoboCop. It, like it saw, like, a computer, like, the makeup of 70 actresses just went, and then, like, the germ, I could see the germs. And, like, before I could stop and be like, this is gross, I was like, yes, and. So that, I wish I had just been like, good night. I'll be getting my frozen yogurt.
Oh. Horrible.
So gross.
The one that pops into my mind is there was an audition for some commercial that we were casting, and the person came in, I don't know why, but they came in with actual really hot coffee instead of just a coffee cup. But they were gesturing so wildly that everybody in the room, it was like, where is this lava going to land on me? As opposed, they could have been Olivier. It was like, and everybody was sort of concerned you were gaming when you were going to get burnt. And that was, it was just terror. But yeah, I don't know why they were so method, but they were.
Well, the funnier one for me is the time that we were doing the clumsy painter was the spot. And so we found these 2 cans of paint that were dried out, that were old, and we just used those. And, you know, we had ladders set up and all this stuff. And this one particular actor, he's marvelous, a brilliant improviser, and he was the clumsiest of all. And he was great. And as he was getting clumsy, both cans, lids on the cans opened, and we thought the paint was completely dried out in there. And the paint went, I mean, everywhere. I mean, everybody was coated with paint. It was all over the walls. It was on the camera. It was on the floor. It was like, and he's like, I'm just like, it was so funny. I mean, just, what are you doing except laugh? What are you gonna do? It wasn't his fault, you know, so. But.
I have a question about when you're going into auditions, we talked a little bit about how far to go. Do you ever, should actors even ask, or do they just offer their performance and then that's it? And then if they get a redirect, they get a redirect? What do you think?
From my side, I think you can kind of smell it if you did a good job. I think you should go in, obviously, with your best first step, and then sometimes you'll see maybe it's available if you want to do another pass at it, but it's also sometimes usually quite clear if they got it, you're not the right person, and then move on. And sometimes a stronger, cleaner exit from that room may help you in the long run. Being quite serious, I think that you remember that person was cool, they got it, they could read the room, and they're out.
I spent a lot of time running down the street or sending my assistant go, okay, great, you know, because the person understood, I'm good, I'm ready. So as opposed to the person who lingers and goes, something else you need, I could try it again. It's like, oh, and you're just watching the job go away, you know. Just do your job and leave.
Yeah, be a bit of a mystery, pleasant, leave them wanting more a little bit. You got stuff to do, like frozen yogurt.
Can I give one hint? Am I allowed to give a hint? You know when they ask you to stay again and again and again because, like, you know, you're the only woman left and they've got 3, 4, 5, 6 guys to go and they keep asking you to go again and again and again? Go to maybe 3 and then you have another audition. Because they get sick of you. They've seen it over and over again. We don't hear. You know, we're tired of her. So, a couple of times. Now, callback, stay all day. That's a whole different thing because now they're pairing you. That's a different story. But at a first call, you have another audition. Gee, I'm so sorry. I got to go.
So we've talked pretty generously about improv for commercials. What about improv for film and TV? That
Depends.
It does depend.
Studio film, TV, independent film, oh yeah. For me, anyway, that's my experience because they're still mixing that cement with the independent film, so they're happy to have something that you came up with. So, theater, never. Letter perfect in theater. Letter perfect. Letter perfect. Okay, there are no ums and I means in Shakespeare. Okay? As I heard somebody do recently.
So I also think the bigger the budget, the tougher it is to think about improv. And sometimes if the budget's so big, then maybe you can afford it. But it, again, should really be something that you're keeping in the back of your head, and you don't want to assume that there will be improv. I think you know in your head in this area that you can improv, but only if needed. And a lot of times when actors go, yeah, we riffed the whole movie, I just think that's baloney, but they are basically saying that they have excellent improv skills. That's their way of advertising it. So I would strongly shy away from that if you're fortunate enough to get a role.
Or they hired a star. That's a whole different thing. If
yeah.
they hired 2 stars, that's a completely different thing. Who kind of riffed the movie, that might have happened. But I think as a non-name performer, that's a different situation. So.
There's an article about that actually when, you know, improv comedies were just sort of blowing up and they were like, yeah, it starts with a great script and then you get some great improvisers and then you got something nice if you have a weak, I'm so sorry, but if you have a weak script or something that's half-baked and then you have improviser, you know, then, you know, it's like baking a cake. The ingredients aren't great, you know?
Yes. All right. Enough of that. Moving on. Is a manager or agent necessary to cast principal roles in commercials, movies, TV programming?
No,
No.
absolutely not.
Okay.
Most of my breakdowns go out on Actors Access as well as
Yeah.
breakdown, and I have no problem bringing in somebody who's unrepresented. No problem at all.
Great. I agree. How can an actor stand out to you through mailing postcards, etc., if they are new to acting and don't have much experience or credentials to wow you?
I'm going to be the one guy in the world that's backing the internet in this thing. But I think that it's the greatest tool to put a clip together, or whether it's YouTube or a flip camera. It's so cheap now, and it's also, people may not watch it, but at least you can make it and make it available. So that to me, if I was an actor, would be the first thing that I would be doing, is getting it really, do it well and make it look great, and then I can have access to the whole planet.
I think that's a great point. It's kind of, why don't you have tape on yourself is, I guess, the response. Because don't you know somebody who's a writer? Don't you know another actor? Don't you know somebody who maybe knows how to direct a little? So put something together. And now it's an independent film. It's a clip from an independent film.
And it can be very short because we are scanners. So, you know, when I don't know about you, but when I'm looking at a reel, I see they maybe say 2 words. I'm like, okay, next. So even a 1 minute reel, I may be watching maybe 10 seconds of it, you know, so
don't start with these ridiculous montages, you know, with your name and this and then music. It's like,
yeah.
go. Okay.
Yeah,
you know.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, no.
A friend of mine, actually, who is not an actor, just got cast in a commercial because he filmed his audition on his iPhone, which is high-quality digital, but the very first shot was him passing through frame on a rolling chair with his schnauzer. And it was so weird that people kept watching it, and then they saw that this guy was really hilarious instead of the standard, hi, my name is so-and-so, and slating yourself. So I think it doesn't mean you need to be wacky or do something like a stunt, but I think that he had complete control over that, and he made it and made sure it was right and used his basic Mac software or found somebody to do it. And it really helped, and it's funny.
Have good sound, decent lighting, and the partner in their scene shouldn't look like you. Okay. All right. Okay, this might be a reprint. Given the emphasis on improv experience, have you been allowed to improvise at all in the progressive spots?
Yeah, I covered that.
Yeah.
Much more, like when we were all sort of creating this person in this world, it was more. And now, like I said, the writers they've got their own ideas. And when I read the stuff, I'm laughing because I could just imagine what they were coming up with. And then at the end of the day, when everyone's happy and relaxed that they've gotten all the coverage they need, we can play. That's fine. Same answer.
And you have your own bobblehead. It's so cool.
Okay, why do commercial casting offices not always provide scripts and sides as they would a theatrical audition?
Sometimes it's not written. That's the truth. I mean, sometimes it's that we're on the phone 10 minutes before the audition going, give me a script, you know, something, you know. So, also, the days of 30 seconds of copy are over, right? When was the last time anybody did 30 seconds of copy? Except for you. You aren't even doing 30 seconds, are you? Are you?
Sometimes,
Are you?
but yeah, ours are much more old-timey. But yeah, you're right. And a lot of it is like...
So why do you need it ahead of time? Can't get your butt there early, you know, do your work, make your choices, and go. I mean, that's for me. I don't know, do you agree? Or?
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you're
Yes.
doing like a spokes thing, that's a different story.
Absolutely.
If we're hiring a spokesperson or something like that, which is going to be lengthy, you know, or sometimes in industrial, the copy tends to be quite long. But that might be posted ahead of time. But as a rule, if it's like, you know, 2 lines, I'm going, really? But
that's true, because even in theatrical, 2 lines, I'll say, you know, show up in 2 hours, I'll give you 5 minutes to look at it, and then we'll put you on tape, you know.
And can we talk about on time?
Please. Please.
Okay, big pet peeve, okay?
Oh, we're going to talk about pet peeves
Oh, I
now.
love that. 10 o'clock audition means ready to go at 10 o'clock. Not show up at 10 o'clock, then go to the bathroom to fix your lipstick and your hair, okay? So, no. So, when somebody walks in at 5 after and they go, I'm only 5 minutes late, no. In my opinion, you're a good 20 minutes late, okay? Because you should have been there, I think, at least 15 minutes before your appointment. And I know it's crazy, guys. I understand. We're asking you to drive from Pasadena to Santa Monica. I get it, okay? But, you know, that's the reality. So you have to let us know if you're going to be late. Very, very important. And again, stop thinking of your appointment time as whatever number they gave you. Put 15, 20 minutes in front of it and think of that as your appointment time, because you have no idea, particularly when we haven't provided the copy, that what it's going to be, you know? So.
Also, I think that's a really good point, because there's sheets where people are coming in at 10, 10:15, 10:30, so-and-so, and it is a domino effect. If you miss your slot, they will accommodate you, but now they're sort of flipping things, and you may have to wait till the end of the day, and maybe they're tired. So I think strategically, if you can come in on time, it shows an awareness, but it also may give you a better shot than having to wait around. It may eat up your day. So it's being precise with your appearances.
I agree.
Yay.
What other pet peeves?
It's, okay, the new epidemic, showing up without a picture and resume. Now, I know that
But they're online.
Well, right, so exactly. Well, my agent sent it to you. Really? No, they didn't. I know sometimes we don't need one. I understand that. A lot of times in commercials, you don't need one, right? Okay. But you don't ever know who's going to be in that room. And you also don't know what the casting director might also be doing and would like to show your picture to somebody else, or just wants to put it in piles. Or what, it's all those things. It's like you're missing opportunities by not having your picture and resume. Even if your agent said, I sent it over, I don't care. How does it hurt for you to have it? To me, there's just no excuse. Would you agree? There's just no excuse for not having a picture and resume, ever. They're your business cards.
I go online.
Okay.
So my sessions all have the pictures. They have everything on it. I will ask the agent, though. My assistant will get the pictures and resumes from the agents and will print them.
Right.
So
I won't.
there
So
you
I just think, look, my feeling is obviously different offices are going to have different ways of doing things, okay? I just think it's, how does it ever hurt to have them with you? It just doesn't ever hurt.
Oh, I got pet peeves. Yeah, okay. I have a pet peeve about the waiting room and that vibe in the waiting room. There's always somebody who wants to undermine, the group. And there's always somebody who's really chatty, right? And who knows everybody. And then there's always somebody, I'll just tell you a little story. I had an agent call me and say, I need you to talk to my client because he went for an audition and he's crying. And this young man does not cry, and he said he had the worst audition. I said, well, so he had a bad day. He's like, no, it was the waiting room. And I said, okay, have him call me. Let's figure it out what happened. Well, what happened was he's new, and what he didn't understand was the culture of the waiting room, because there is a culture, right? And there's always that person who inextricably wants to control it, and take control away from the people who are in the room and down the hallway, right? And we smell it. I mean, we have our assistants, our associates. We have people who go in and out who tell us about that. We have notes about you, and that goes to the director, that goes to the producer at the end of the day. We know, and we know whether we're going to call you back again after that. So what happened with this kid, there was something going on in the waiting room, so he went out in the hallway, and then people were running lines really loudly in the hallway. And so I said, dude, just get those noise cancellation earbuds and put them on, right? You don't need to be listening to music. And just be in a corner, and if somebody comes at you, you just give them a stink eye and they'll walk away, and it's done, And you do your business. You do your job. Your job is to prepare and be the best you and present what you have to offer in that room. The rest of it, the culture of all that that's just a lot of stupidity.
And that falls under, I think, listening and being aware as well. Like, be aware that this is a work environment,
Yeah.
And of course, like, after doing this for, oh God, I've been here for like 14 years, people. And the comedy lady world is even smaller, and we all know each other, and we all go up for the same stuff, and you could catch up for days. But, but we try to be respectful and whisper and keep it short. But in a room where someone's being outright weird or something, I just have my book. Reading my book or reading my lines, and there's, even if it's like, write it down on an index card what you're going to say, which is, oh my God, I'd love to talk, but right now I have to kind of prepare for this. Simple, friendly,
Yeah, I think the lobby becomes a very important part of your process. I describe the lobby as a very dangerous place, for a number of reasons, where you get intimidated, as maybe he did, by looking across the room at somebody who's booking everything in sight. If you're auditioning against her, you're going, well, I might as well go home, okay? But client might go, she's got a lot of stuff going on right now. I'm interested in a new face. But you've given it away, mentally, emotionally. Do you understand? You've already let the job go because you're so intimidated by that other person. Or you have the chatty person who monopolizes the room. You have to kind of just, basically you have to say, excuse me, I'm busy. And just kind of tell them back off. But the worst thing is running into somebody you know.
Of course it is.
It's the worst thing of all.
No one means harm.
Right. And I go, you're next. You go, it's like, it's a job interview. It's a job interview. Can you imagine chatting with somebody when you're interviewing for a job at IBM or something, some corporation? You wouldn't think about it. So.
We'll catch up later.
Yeah,
Right?
let's go to get coffee later or something. That's a great idea.
So we're gonna actually wrap this up. No, we're not done. We're not done, but we're close. We're close.
The song and the dance portion.
Yes.
Right, the tap
The
number.
finale.
I'm gonna have a tough time tapping in these.
So, in closing, is there something that you wanted to impart that you've not been able to share yet? Those words of wisdom, the little pieces of joy that you want to share.
I will say this in all sincerity. acting is, I can't even imagine. I admire it so much because I can't imagine doing it because it's so hard. Like, I can imagine being an NFL quarterback more than I could, and certainly not with this build, but it's so hard. Like, and I say that in an admiring way. So you're doing something that is very difficult, but also something that's so cool that I just look at it as a cool opportunity to perform and also to be different characters and hopefully get paid to do it. And I know it's a little woo-woo, but I really do think it's cool and admirable. And from the other side of the table, people appreciate it, and they're not doing it for a reason. So I think they're rooting for you. Because if you suck, it hurts them. But if somebody comes in and they're great and they're really putting themselves out there, it is really appreciated that they're being so brave. So I would look at it as sort of a badge of honor and just go do a good job at it, because the fact that you're even showing up is ballsy.
Also, just, the fact that there's only so many audition spots, and the fact that you got that, that you're going in, that's pretty awesome.
And respect that.
Yeah.
Because the numbers that we deal with are so huge. It's not just your spot, it's your agent's spot, that he or she worked hard to get and didn't get very many of those spots. So, really respect that. And if you were confirmed, show up. Hello? Is that a hard one?
Show up in
Show
every
up.
way.
Oh my gosh.
In every way.
And don't audition for something you have no intention of accepting. This is something else I'm running into a couple of times, actually, in the last couple of months, actually. Right? You want to talk about? Yeah, I mean, if you go to a first call, a first audition, okay, for whatever it is, film, television, theater, commercial, whatever it is, you go to the first audition and didn't like the vibe in the room, didn't like the material, didn't feel good about it, didn't feel it was for you, any of those reasons, whatever it is, and you get a call back, turn the call back down, okay? It's very simple to say, oh, I booked a conflict. Even if it's not true, doesn't matter, we accept that, okay? Pass, just so you know, sometimes is offensive. Would you agree?
Extremely.
Okay, good. To say pass is offensive. But to have a conflict, how can we object to that, okay? All right, but if you went to the callback and you get the job and then you turn it down, what were you hoping to get? It's just amazing to me. I'm always stunned when this happens. It's like, so I don't understand that at all. So don't audition for something you have no intention of
Well, and
accepting.
it makes you look bad. It makes your rep look bad. It
Everything.
makes us not want to work with you
Right.
again. And I know agents and managers out there that feel the same way. They're like, why didn't you tell me you were booking out? Why didn't you say that you had this conflict? Why did, why? It's all communication. You've got a team, so work with your team. If you don't like your team, then
Get a new team.
get a new team.
Yeah.
Or
We're probably preaching to the choir here, but that's the other thing too. About staying in touch with your team is very, very important. Exactly. The agents go, well, she didn't tell me she went to Hawaii. It's like, how can that be? How can that be? We had an actor today who was requested by the director. We put the call out the middle of last week, and as of her appointment time, she still had not confirmed with her agent, and she walked in. And I'm like, oh, you're here. I mean, I would say conservatively, because the director had requested her, conservatively my office made 8 phone calls. About one actor, there is no way I would have done that if it weren't a director's choice, okay? And then, of course, she walks in, she's fabulous. And it's like, it kind of pisses me off on some level, you know what I mean? So.
I was just going to say, having hacked away at this career for a very long time, hacked away, I am so old. But I would just say, approach it with joy. Like we already covered this, but there are some people out there, I've seen some actors out there who just can't wait to be offended, who just can't wait to be pissed off by how long this audition is taking, or just to be, there's this air of like, oh, zap, something offended him, it was just a matter of time. And, just, I don't know, that it implies to me that I don't know, there's a different reason why we're doing this. I feel like I am robbing a bank, frankly, that I get paid to do what I do. Like, it's fun, and I've been doing it for free forever, and catering on the side and doing all that stuff and just getting together with my friends and putting on shows and laughing. And now it's like, it's my job. And not to say, you're just like, oh, please, I'll do anything. Of course you've got, rules and there's conditions. and you stand up for yourself. But there's an approach of joy that the people that I love to work with, the people that I'm fans, I think of like Bryan Cranston. I don't know him personally, but I think of how he must be on set. He seems just an endless well of joy, and other actors I can imagine, so that's what I would say. If you can't do this, and enjoy it, you don't have to do this. It's okay. Or you could do it in another form. And anyway, I want to end it more positively than that.
I agree, and just very quickly, you have to remember, everybody in part of making a commercial or a movie or television show is auditioning. Like, as a director, I've had to do some Academy Award level stuff to get a job and to audition for the job, and a lot of times I don't get it. And same with writers. They've had to send in spec scripts, so everybody is auditioning for someone, and it's a team effort. Like, it is a conceptual team effort, so if you go in with that attitude where as an actor, you're going, I may be the missing piece of your puzzle that'll make this movie happen or this commercial, I think people will really appreciate it because you're doing everybody a favor. So it's a team mentality is noticed and very helpful.
I think I'm very blessed to do what I do. I really believe that. I love actors. I think what's very exciting about what I do as a former actor, I get to give you opportunities, and how grateful I was for those opportunities. So it's really fun for me too, and you kind of touched on this before, to find an actor who I really believe in and to present him or her to a producer and they go, yes. I can't tell you what joy that gives me. The other day I actually got teary-eyed about this one actor who I found because she's fresh out of school. I mean, it's unbelievable what's happened to her. She got out of school in June. She had 3 auditions with me. She's booked all 3. One was a supporting role, one was the second lead, and she just booked the lead in 3 months. It's like, what? This doesn't happen, So it's a meteoric rise, and to be a part of that is just, I can't tell you how exciting that is. So.
I had that happen to me today, actually. They apparently, the producers forgot to clear one of the actors that I was in the midst of hiring. Oops. And so we sent her link off to the network, and the word came back, who is this person? She is hilarious and like fall out of your seat funny. And the heads of the departments and they're like, who is this person? I'm so excited that we know her now, And she just came in and had a script that actually had gone through, I want to say, about 3 different revisions. And I just told her that. I said, you can play with this however you want because there's already been 3 rewrites. So go. And she just tore it up. And she had no fear. That was the thing. She's like, this is what I do. I can do anything. And she offered it up. And, now she's going to be booked on several shows. So. Any other piece of joy? I know.
Frozen yogurt?
Oh, treat yourself.
Where's your favorite yogurt place?
Oh, I would go to Pinkberry and just get myself something with a gummy bear on. Who cares, really?
Yeah.
No.
You got a question? Okay.
First of all, thank you all for being here. The information is priceless. I myself am Michael Joseph Donovan, so it's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Something for you. For someone who performs maybe once a week and gets auditions not often enough, nerves, how do you stay loosey-goosey with gaps like that?
Okay, this is a nerves question. How do you handle the nerves, and especially when you're not auditioning consistently?
For me, the only thing besides yogurt, oh man, you deserve it. No, just performing live. So yes, so you're saying that your outlet is once a week, and then you get the occasional audition. Maybe a class would help you. I took an audition class that was really just technical, and it helped me a lot. It just it seriously was like, literally, what do you do when you enter the room? Who do you look at? It was like that because I had done so much live stuff, but I hadn't done on camera. So why not? Because you're going to spend hours in front of your class, and it counts, Or maybe take an improv class or something else. I don't mean to tell you to keep spending money, but just any way that would help you, any way that would like, oh, you've logged in now 12 hours in front of a group, in a sort of simulated audition experience. That might help a little bit.
Leading up to the audition, like any nerves that you had, like before you go into the room, like, oh my God, what am I doing here? I don't, what, you know, any like meditation, or, like relaxation.
Oh, I see. Thank you. Okay, well, like I said, I've been doing this for 1,000 years. Yeah, I guess prepare. All those nerves, you know, you sort of pay for them in the green room or whatever, or in the waiting room. How about 3 days before that, you put all of that into memorizing the script, into making your choices, into, you know, just taking a walk around your neighborhood and going. That's what I would do. I'd take my lines and I would walk around the neighborhood. And I would just do that before the audition. So feeling prepared will help you a ton. Make choices that tickle you in some way, you know, and it's like your secret that you're going in with. And does that help? Excellent. And maybe see theater, see plays, and get hungry to like be up there or something. Yeah, my pleasure.
Is there another way to help with the jitters, just kind of taking it off of yourself and putting it on someone else in the room? Does that ever work? Or is that just something that is too manufactured?
Well, I always feel better if I'm auditioning with someone. I feel great. I would for me, it helped just to feel as prepared as possible. And so, because nothing can sort of, once you get there, it sort of is what it is. You are where you are there, you know? So feeling prepared, I think, might help.
Certain people do everything from yoga to affirmations to exercise, breathing. There may be physical things that you have to do to get the nerves under control. But the other thing, of course, is to use them. You know, I mean, everybody gets nervous. It's just a part of it. So find some way to channel them if you can.
My friend Jack Plotnick, who's a wonderful and successful actor and brilliant comedian, he has he's wonderful. He has a website called New Thoughts for Actors, and you could do www.jackplotnick. Wonderful.
And he's brilliant.
Really great guy.
Jack Plotnick, P-L-O-T.
N-I-K, right?
N-I-C-K.
I think it's N-I-C-K.
C-K.
C-K, is it?
Anyone else? Oh, we have a question in the back. Okay, so the question is you do your read, and then they say, oh great, let's see something else. Let's do another take. Okay.
Okay, my thought is, if the direction is really that unspecific, great, can you do it again? Okay, so now what you have is no direction, all right? So now you have to step in and take control. Okay, so did I do what I wanted to do with that take? Am I happy with what I wanted to do? Did I make the specific choices? Did I commit, et cetera, et cetera? Am I happy with that take? Great. Move on to a second choice, okay? All right. If indeed, however, your first take was bobbled the lines or something, whatever, okay, it's like, show them that was just nothing. I can clean it up immediately, and the second take, stay with the same take and clean it up. All of that changes if you get direction from the real director or from the session director, okay? And whatever he or she is giving you, that's what you follow, even if you disagree with it, okay? It's very important, because sometimes we're throwing something at you just to see how directable you are, because maybe we loved your first take. So we have a good one. Now we just want to see, what else can you do? Let's play. And that's where, of course, the improv is enormously helpful. See how I brought that all the way back full circle, wasn't that? That's good, right? Yeah.
I like that. One more question, two more questions. Go ahead.
Caroline, Stephanie, Michael, and Rob. Thank you. I hope one day a tear will just go out the corner of your eye for me.
What's your name?
Susan Douglas Clare. So my question is, when you go into an audition and the script is kind of, you know, a little bit bland, is there a way that you could just kind of, well, I've done this before, you know, how would you like me to play this? Is that a good thing, or do you see it as a bad thing? What do you think about it?
Okay, so Susan's asking when she gets some sides that don't quite give enough. Is it okay to ask, what would you like to see?
Yes, yes. How would you like me to play that?
How would you like me to play this? I don't ever want to hear that question. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Now I get it. I get it when there's logistics in the sides where you're like, okay, I am supposed to be free falling off of the side of a building, and how am I supposed to play this? You know, there's things like that. But it's your job to make the choice. We know usually the sides don't work. Okay? And we don't do it as a trick. Okay, the sides have been, we've talked to people. We've figured out these are the sides that need to be given. Okay? So again, it's your job to find your arc in it, to find your beginning, middle, and end, to figure out what you're trying to get from the other person, to somehow infuse a story and a background, but don't give us a whole, you know, book about it. but make a choice. And I think in a sense, you get some freedom with that too. When you're not given a lot, there's a lot you can add that actually can make it really amazing.
I think it also depends on what you're auditioning for. I completely agree that we expect you to make those choices. Sometimes I think there are legitimate questions to ask. You know, are we looking for over the top? Are we looking for low key? Things like that might be okay to ask. But as a rule, I want to see what you did first. And that's why when I'm doing auditions, very rarely will I give you that up front unless the director has said to me, this is what I want. Okay. Then if that's what you want, then I'm going to help you out and give you that note ahead of time. But if I haven't, then I think it's up to you to do that. But again, I think it depends specifically on which area you're auditioning, you know, because some things I expect you to have done your homework. Like theater, you should have done your homework, especially if it's an established piece. There's just no excuse. Again, going back to what I talked about before, what's the style of this commercial? You should have done your homework and figure out. So then you know, is it sassy? Is it low key? Is it real? Is it whatever? Okay. But I think the biggest thing, and you touched on this too, what are you bringing to the picture? If we brought you in, we want you. There aren't a million of you, right? So I think that's what you have to do is be willing to be you, be brave enough to be that unique person.
Well, point of view, yeah, point of view. That's sort of what we learn, at Groundlings and stuff with character. What is character? It's just point of view. It's just someone's life experience makes them see it this way. So you can always bring that.
I will just add, as somebody responsible for many blend scripts, that
Thank you.
the sides are not the final product. They are designed to be sides. So there's a little trickery involved because they're just an audition tool. That will not be in the show or the commercial or the movie. So it's knowing that if you go in and realize that there's 3 people in the scene, but everybody in the waiting room is for part 1, the other 2 are just helping them find part 1. So I think it's sort of being tactical about it and knowing that they are looking for somebody to play this part, and this is a test. This is not the final product. So like they were saying, show them what you offer, because they're testing you to see if it'll work. Then the script will be done, it'll be rewritten and everything. But this is really the doorway opportunity, and it is a freebie to go in there and show them what you have. And you may end up booking another part, but it really is, the sides never matter. Like they're usually just dummy scripts. So I wouldn't view it like, this is never gonna happen. I would view it as a chance for you to make something that is used as a tool to really be a shiny tool.
And sometimes in films, I'm sure you experience this, the sides they gave is, like you were saying, nothing to do with the script, because they don't want the script out. They don't want that. They're being very protective of it. So this will work. Sometimes even in commercial auditions, they'll say, okay, well, I don't know what we're gonna have them do, so just have them do this, and we get a sense of, whether you can handle that. So again, that may be a strictly improv without dialogue audition. Well, you can still tell a story with that, right? Stories still have beginning, middle, and end, even without words.
Yeah, we'll hand out scripts that are from a completely different movie that you will know, just because there's too much going on within it. Go ahead. Oh wait, no, sorry. No, wasn't there a question over here? Yes. Oh, will you repeat that question? question.
Well, first of all, I have this awesome double life because I look like Carl Malden without the flow maker. No, I'm like, no, I really look different without the 18 pounds of me. It takes like 2 hours to construct that woman. So yeah, and because I've auditioned here for like 14 years, I already know casting people, especially the ones that cast like comedies and stuff, which is usually what I go out for. And so far, they've just been like, "Hey, congrats, man, you're working, good for you." And I've done other things, and I get to do a little drama too, which is nice. Like I did an ER kind of recently, and so and I'm sorry, ER, that was a while ago. I mean, an episode of House recently, so I get to stretch some muscles because I don't look so much like the character I play. And so far so great, and it's afforded me this great time. I just had a baby, so I get to spend time with the baby. And oh yeah, see guys, I was telling him I get one applause break. And I swear, but anyway, I hope that answered your question a little bit.
But I think it's a valid question in terms of commercially you can get known as that guy, Can you hear me now? Was that one and a few others,
Right, there was a whole article.
Go back to Mr. Whipple for those of you who are old enough,
I think it's also like my attitude about it is going to be the most important ingredient. I'm still going to audition. I still want to do a wonderful array of work in my career, hopefully, and that's how I'll approach it. And if I have to create that, I'll do it, so.
But can I, not to make this a cheesy showbiz moment, but I think that's a great point because for casting, I'm saying this very sincerely, you have a reputation as being a funny person and a great improviser, and people go, and she's also flow, but I think the important part, you're not getting in the room because you're flow. People are excited about flow, but because you have a great reputation, and you're also, to dovetail this, a great improviser. So that's the plus of it, and I think people go, oh, I loved you as flow is a bonus, but you're in the door because of your skills.
It had been 14 years leading up to, I think, 10 years in this town before I got the flow gig, so that did help,
That makes sense. Wasn't there somebody in the back? Okay. Okay, so the question is when they line you up in the room and there's several of you and they say, tell me a little bit about yourself, what is that about?
There's a rule for doing an improv scene. You don't start with, oh, hi, how are you? I'm introducing. You start at the height of the scene. So, there's already a leak in the washing machine. There's already someone getting fired right now, So the stories I would tell would get to it, get to the point, and don't stay too long at the party.
But I think you're talking about those terrible auditions where they just make it part of the sort of the slate almost, where tell us your name and tell us something about yourself.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. Sometimes auditions were like, tell us a funny story. So that funny story, I would say, but sometimes I would do the stupidest thing where like Stephanie Courtney, Aquarius, or something, just idiotic but short, like super short. And if it was a big flop, that's fine.
I also want to get on my soapbox for a second. I think you guys need to get after SAG-AFTRA about not allowing multiple people in the room at the same time. I think it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Okay, you should have your own individual audition, period. How can you not be influenced by what everybody else is doing as you go down a line doing, shotgun casting? So.
Any more questions? Yeah.
What's your opinion on putting a button on either a scene or a commercial audition with some kind of tag, some kind of thing at the very end?
Okay, the question is, what about at the end of a scene or end of commercial copy, putting a tag, a zinger, a button?
I will just say again that the writers or the directors feel strongly enough about their material to hold auditions. So it's not like it's the Bible, but I think that if you punch it up unnecessarily, they are going to feel like you came in there to go, aren't I hilarious? As opposed to having something in your back pocket where at the end, if it feels appropriate, maybe you do it, but back pocket it, because people are protective of their material. The director's thinking, well, I have to talk about how great these window wipers are in 30 seconds, and this guy's got a great wiper joke, but I can't really use that. So it may screw you up more than it'll help you, but if you happen to have it, I would keep it there and use your personal radar to really read the room. And if it was the odds, I would say most of the time I wouldn't do it. But if you see an opening and you feel you successfully presented yourself well, maybe do it. But I would say capital M, maybe.
All right. Yes, hello. Hi, Rita.
I have a two-part question. Stephanie, I think you're brilliant.
Oh, you're so nice.
There's an urban legend that someone else got cast first and they lost it.
I love it.
Oh, the intrigue. I never heard this.
Because they had a local internet commercial for another insurance company.
Oh, that's
So my
crazy.
question, first off, is that true? And the casting directors, should we resist the urge to take that $2,000 buyout on the internet if it could possibly make it not the next film?
I've never heard that story, so I don't know if it's true. And the second answer for me is kind of easy. Take the work. Take the work. I know, and like to answer your question as well, like there are people when this became a campaign, it's just like, I was just like, I am at the time, like I was 37 and I was broke, and it is time to take the work. And so I would say if there's a job offered to you and it's in your hand, do it. That's what I think.
I will agree, and I know this is mainly not directed with these guys, but I've done 2 campaigns now that were internet campaigns, and we ended up shooting 35 spots for this one product in a short period of time. And one of the actors was concerned that, like, we're getting ripped off. I'm giving him 35 spots, but it was a gig, and we did it in a short period of time. And I think it's helpful if you can get. You shouldn't take any job just to take the job, but I think if it's within reason and it will give you employment, but also you're making connections, you're getting tape. If it makes sense, it's something to consider, but you should never feel like you're being ripped off. It's a tricky stance, but I do think that with the internet now, it does, some of these campaigns can be a little iffy, but work is work, and I would look at it as they're paying you to give you new tape.
Okay, this is going to be our last question, but whoever wrote this, I need you to ask it again because I'm going to start it and you're going to have to finish it. All right. So often I hear they ask you a question, but the director, decision maker actually turns off the sound and never really listens. And does that happen to you, and do you do it? In what respect is that? I don't quite understand. They're looking at the physicality.
Are you talking commercials? Well, it certainly happens in commercials because maybe there isn't any dialogue, maybe nothing spoken. Oh, I really disagree about that part. I mean, I think certainly when we're saying tell us about yourself, that gives us a chance to get a quick window about who you might be, watching it back? Watching it back, yeah. In a situation where there wasn't any dialogue, sure. They've done it because it doesn't matter what you're saying. Or an MOS spot or something, things like that, yeah. But other than that, no, of course not.
I've never heard of that, quite honestly, but I think that regardless, your job is to present visual and audible quality, so who cares what they're going to do with it, because if it's great, they're going to need audio at some point. So I think let them do whatever they want, but it's their choice. I've never heard of that, quite honestly.
I've never done it.
But I will tell you something that you brought up, which I love, is about when we're watching reels, you watch 5 seconds or something, that they do. Your audition, it's like they're making a decision, I mean, boom, 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 and it's like, and you go, well, but that's not fair. Well, how long are you going to be on camera in the actual commercial? That's something you guys all should do. Time out of the 30 seconds. How long is the actor actually on screen? Except for people like her, it's pretty short. Okay, so we only need to see 2-3 seconds. If you can't hold us for 2 or 3 seconds, it's not going to work. So.
Yeah, I would say don't let that get into your head at all. You don't know why they would do that. It seems urban legendy to me, and yeah, and just it's almost like you're gonna give it away. It's the same thing with like improv. There's things that, I'll do a show for an hour and a half, and then someone will be like, "Oh, I like when you said that," or something. I'll be like, "Oh, I totally forgot," because for me, it gets thrown away. As soon as I leave the room, I take the sides, no matter what the audition, and I just throw them away. Because not disrespectfully, but just to say I can't carry that. I just can't hope or, feel insulted or worry. Just get rid of it. You're done. You did it.
Can I give you real quick about that though?
Oh, don't throw the sides away.
Yeah. Well, here's what happens a lot, and not a lot, but happens in auditions. Is that we'll be auditioning something, and somebody will finish reading, and they go, "Well, thank you," and they hand me the sides. So basically, you told me you don't think you're going to get a call back. That's what you just did. You told me I'm not getting a call back. Here's the sides back.
Oh yeah, I would never hand them back.
You
For
know,
me,
yeah,
it was sort of
that's-
psychologically like
right.
I can't pin my hopes and dreams.
No, I understand that. I mean, and of course you can always get them online again. I know that, but it's like, but it's a little moment in which you kind of go, "I'm done," or even saying, "Well, good luck with the project." It's like, you just again did the same thing. It's like, well, don't you want to be part of the project?
There's a whole heck of a lot of that. That's
Right?
a whole other hour.
Right, there is.
Yeah.
We should do
boy,
that.
we will do that. All right. So thank you, Jacqueline, for our closing question. This really is our last question for the night. We'll start with you, Stephanie.
Yeah.
All right. So what part of your job do you get the most excited about? What is that part that really makes you smile?
When I've made the crew laugh because they are tired and they are hot, and they don't lie, and so it's sort of tied with working with someone who I find delightful and is fun, and we're having a great time, and saying there are some times I'll just say a ridiculous thing off the cuff just to break the tension, break up the day or something, and that gives me personal pleasure to make the crew laugh because they don't give that away.
And how about you? What's the
I think
thing
I already
that's most
said it
excited?
before when I find
Yeah.
somebody, but
Yeah.
it comes down to this. When I put my head on my pillow, I want to feel I did a good job today. That's important to me. I treated people with respect, with kindness, with dignity. I really tried to give people a shot. And so if I can fall asleep thinking that, I'm pretty happy.
How about you?
I know this will sound slightly naive, but I think if you have fun doing it, if everybody on the set is having fun, like if you feel like you were prepared and you had a good time, that is very important because you can't control the ups and the downs of it. But I know, again, the best memories I've had doing any of this is like, God, that was so fun, as opposed to like, that was a very precisely edited scene. And I think that's really the I know it's, again, sounds weird, but if you go into it like, that was such a blast, you can tell on screen when people are having a good time. And that's really, to me, the most important thing is like, if you can find the fun in it is really a positive.
Definitely the fun, because you're working a lot of long hours and you've put a lot of years in preparation to get to that point of getting the job. And for me, it's knowing that the work and the effort that you've put into it is respected enough that you're part of that puzzle or part of that pie, and everybody's got their part of it, and they're all coming together creating this really cool thing. And there's such joy in that, that I don't know what you do, but it looks really cool.
My husband's not an actor, so when he visited the set for the first time, and it was right when lunch was ending, and he's like, "You don't know what it's like to see 100 people get back to work." Like within 5 minutes, this whole thing is up and running, and 100 people are concentrating. He's like, "That's you're part of it."
I know we're ending this thing, but I'll just say one quick anecdote. My friend Steve, who's a very accomplished commercial director, was saying that the best moment he's ever had on set when he was shooting an IHOP commercial, and it wasn't the person in the spot, it was the guy way in the back who was having such a good time being in an IHOP commercial that he almost radiated to the front of the monitor because he was in a commercial, and it's such a cool thing. And this guy was having a blast eating cold pancakes at this fake restaurant, and this guy's seen it all, and that person zoomed ahead and really made an impression on him, and I'm sure he's thought about casting him again.
And I guess don't forget why you got into this, you know? You didn't get into this just to make money, did you? No, right? Gotta have fun, right? Gotta enjoy the process.
Say yes.
Say yes.
That's it.
Thank you.